Yep.
We just wrapped up the board meeting at RIPTA, and I have never seen such bullying on a board take place. The chair of this board needs to resign. He would not let the members speak. He tried to prevent someone from putting forward a valid proposal, and I've never seen anything like it in my life. I feel he needs to resign, and I'm going to say I'm putting in legislation very soon to have him replaced as chair of the board. No reason whatsoever for the chair of the DOT to be the person who is in charge of RIPTA. It's clearly a conflict of interest. Although not one as written into statute in our state, it is clearly a conflict of interest for him to be there. And his bullying nature was on full display today and just absolutely appalling.
Now, we saw a lot of people come on out and speak, whether they were riders, representatives in the state house, the Senate, whatever it may be, come out and show their support for getting this proposal revised, turned down, tabled, however you want to put it.
There were a number of options.
And how frustrating is that to see so many members of the public and our local Rhode Island community come out and speak their minds, but ultimately get denied?
It is incredibly frustrating. In my statement earlier today, I talked about the roller coaster ride. We are putting these people on an endless roller coaster ride. I'm talking about the people who sign leases to live somewhere that they know is on a bus route that's going to take them to school and work in the places that they need to go. And that was destroyed today. We talk about having to have something that's consistent for our business owners in this state. We're talking about a stable tax rate and on and on. Well, what business owners are going to be able to know that their employees are going to be there? What businesses are going to open up on a route thinking that they'll be able to get customers coming in? What businesses are going to stay here like Hasbro, who has already stated incredibly clearly that without adequate public transportation for their employees, they are not staying in Rhode Island? And that fell on deaf ears, and I'm appalled at this decision that was made by this board today. And I applaud Norm Benoit for his courage in standing up to the bully that is the chair of this committee.
And we heard, of course, Norm's proposal to approve the cuts, however, come back on it if you can get, I think it was about $5 million of funding from Governor McKee, and revise or come back to this discussion in about 2 weeks from now. How big of a difference do you think that would have made if that was ultimately approved?
It would have made a huge difference, and it wouldn't have changed the outcome one bit. If those $5 million were never came to fruition, the cuts would have gone into place. It was a valid proposal that the member put forward, and it was bullied out of consideration by the chair of the board. He clearly had his marching orders, and he clearly followed through. He was not going to let anyone sway anybody's vote there. It was appalling.
Any message for Governor McKee today? Do you think this is still possible to be amended?
Apparently, the director of DOT, who's the chair of the RIPTA board, thinks that there is still some way. We need to act quickly in order for these cuts to not go through. It's $5 million. That's the difference between changes in frequency, people not being able to get to church and their jobs on the weekend. I mean, there's more than a 9-to-5 workday for people. And we have to recognize that, and we have to prove that we listen when people speak to us. Hundreds of hours of testimony, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching testimony that took place over these last few weeks. And the fact that all of that was just thrown away on a vote like this it's just deeply disappointing.
What's next? What do you plan, you, the Senate,
I
House?
plan on speaking to the Speaker immediately. I was texting him. He's unfortunately at a wake right now for Judge Caprio. This is something that is way too important for us to just give up on it right now. This issue has not stopped, and we need to find a way to find $5 million out of a $14 billion budget. Disappointing doesn't even begin to cover the way that this makes me feel.
Pretty sure DOT has an extra $5 million.
I'm quite certain that DOT has an extra $5 million. In fact, from what I understand, DOT did have some flex funding, and when they got wind of the fact that the General Assembly might be asking them to transfer it over to the DOT, magically some sidewalks were put in on West Main Road in North Kingstown, and I believe one other place. So I think we need to investigate whether they were following the proper appropriation recommendations according to the STIP. We have a very clear plan on how this money is supposed to be spent. And if they're all of a sudden spending it in advance of other things, or in order to prevent them from spending it on RIPTA, I think it needs to be looked at. We need an efficiency study for DOT. We need an efficiency study on how they're addressing this bridge. That article that was just in the Providence Journal this week, appalling the way that they're telling us that they got all of these written proposals put in, and then they got verbal consent that they did it the right way, unanimous verbal consent, or excuse me, anonymous verbal consent.
Well,
I think we're wrapping this.
well, I mean,
Hey, we're in the middle of something. Could you turn the light on?
Thank you.
thank you. Representative, you have to take a moment to observe the political here.
Yes.
We've got a gubernatorial election looming.
Yes.
In fact, significant campaign announcements are going to probably be made next week. Is this going to be a significant campaign issue in the gubernatorial race?
Looking at the number of people who spoke out, submitted written and public comments, of course it's going to be. There are businesses that are deeply impacted by this. And by the way, they say that they did not cut any routes. They eliminated an entire portion of the number 14, which serves a grocery store in my district. So they can put it using whatever words it is that they want to use. The truth of the matter remains that they are doing cuts. These are and the raising of the fare is another known deterrent for allowing people to continue to use public transit. As somebody who used to ride exclusively public transit when I lived in another state who had no Sunday service, I used to have to hitchhike to get to work. Is that is that plan B for the transit riders in our state? They're going to have to hitchhike in order to get to the places they need to go, to get to church on Sunday, to get to the supermarket when they need to go. It is not a plan B. This is absolutely ignoring the fact of the needs of people in Rhode Island.
We saw in the budget numbers that I announced that $64 million went through Commerce RI to fund largely out-of-state based organizations at the whim of a tiny board with little public overview. Is it time to look at Commerce RI and say, wait a minute, we can't fund priorities? How can we afford to do this?
We're a $14 billion budget. We don't need to say it's necessarily Commerce. I don't always agree with things that Commerce does, but that's, I mean, of course we do. We need to look at every single place that we spend money. But to say that we can't find $5 million right now, it's just such an insult to the people who rely on public transportation.
I think who's ever running for governor would want to be on the forefront of this issue.
Anyone who is looking to be the next governor of our state needs to be forward-looking enough to understand that transit is the backbone of a state, and a state the size of the city of Philadelphia, as someone testified earlier, needs to wake up and realize that. And if they want to be competitive and be attractive to businesses to move here and individuals to move here, this is going to be a main issue. And the fact that we haven't heard gubernatorial candidates come out and make these statements yet, that they fully support RIPTA and fully support funding it and implementing the transit master plan, that's who I'm going to vote for. I'll tell you that right now. That's the kind of leadership that I'm looking for.
It's clear from thousands of hours, countless hours of testimony, that there's going to be a significant impact on human services costs here in the state of Rhode Island as a direct result of that. Do you think they understand that calculus, or are they so callous that they're just willing to walk past it?
I'm the chair of the Human Services Subcommittee in House Finance. I know that this is going to have detrimental impacts on the lives of individuals. I mean, the fact that in the past we've opened up a human service agency that's not on a bus route shows me how clearly clueless the government can be when serving the public. This couldn't be more clear that the need is there. Expansion is what we need, not cuts, and now is not the time for cuts.